Hi, I'm Frank, the General Manager at EarthBox, and this is how to replant your EarthBox. So before we get started, you're going to need to get some things together. You're going to need a replant kit, which includes a 1-pound bag of the 777 or the organic plant food, a 1-pound bag of dolomite, 2 mulch covers, and your instruction manual. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, a pair of pruning shears, a water source, your plants. I like to have a small bucket handy with a small shovel or a hand trowel, and you'll need some potting mix. So the first step is to remove the old plants. I used my pruning shears to cut the tomatoes out of the box and discarded them. Now we can remove the old cover, and this can be discarded. The next step is to remove the old fertilizer. And since we were growing tomatoes, the fertilizer stripe is against this wall of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hand trowel, dig in, remove that fertilizer, we're doing this because over time, if you leave this fertilizer in here, you could have a buildup of salts that can be detrimental to the plants. So we want to get all that old fertilizer out of there. Now we want to remove the plants themselves. I like to take my hand trowel and just sort of cut through the roots. These tomato plants, they end up with really large root masses. They can be a little bit of a struggle. Sometimes with the tomatoes, I like to just cut the plant right near the soil level and put a new cover on, and the roots will start to decompose over the winter time, and then these become really easy to remove. But if you didn't do that early, and here we are at spring and we want to replant, we just have to wrestle a little bit. They come out. So at this stage, I just like to break the soil up a little bit, move it around. So now we're ready to start putting our EarthBox back together. We're ready to add our dolomite. So we have our 1-pound bag of dolomite that comes in our replant kit. This just gets broadcast around the top, across the top of the box. No real right or wrong way. You want to use the entire bag. Really spread it around. And now you want to mix this in to the top 3 or 4 inches of media here. Like that, that's good. The dolomite is a mix of calcium, magnesium, has trace elements, really critical for your seeded vegetables. We recommend using it for everything that you're going to plant in the EarthBox. So at this point now, we need to refer to our plant placement, plant and fertilizer placement chart, and we're going to do lettuce, which is 8 seedlings, fertilizer stripe in the middle, 4 plants on either side. So we have to make our trough. So I like to just use the side of my hand, make a little trough here. And now we're going to take our bag of 777 special plant food. Again, we're going to use the entire bag. This will be enough fertilizer for one growing season. Now we need to gently cover. We like to cover that fertilizer. It just keeps it from moving around. You want to get moist mix all around it. It'll help it to start breaking down, diffusing into the soil. So at this point, we want to create a nice mound on top of our fertilizer stripe. So I'm going to get some more media here. This media tends to be easier to work with if it's a little moist. You can see it's just enough to hold it together. Sometimes it's really dry, and if you have a breezy day, it just gets all over the place. So sometimes you go into your local store and you buy a bag of mix, and it's already pretty damp. And other times it can be really dry, and just the weight of the bag when you go to pick it up will be a good indicator of whether or not the media is moist or not. So again, no real art to this. Just make a nice mound. The mound's also going to keep the water from pooling on the cover if you get a nice big mound. So now we're going to take one of our mulch covers. We're going to put this over the top of the box. We're here in Northeast Pennsylvania, so we always use the black side up. We recommend putting the white side up if you live in an area where your sustained peak high temperatures are above 85 degrees during the growing season. So now the cover's on, and we're ready to plant. Now we need to make holes in the cover for the seedlings. I like to use just a pair of household scissors. Some people like to use a utility knife. I think the scissors are easier and safer. So we're going to put 4 holes down each side on either side of our fertilizer stripe. So I like to just come in here, cut a little X. Again, you want to try to space things out evenly. We're growing lettuce, so the plants aren't going to be so big that they're going to take over. If they're a couple plants are a little closer than the others, we're fine. So basically, you want to create a hole in the soil that's sized appropriately for your plant. I have kind of small seedlings here. Usually there's a little stick in the plants that you get from your garden center that will recommend the depth for planting and things like that. I like to just use my hands to make the hole. Some people might like to use a dibble. If you're planting a lot of earth boxes, it can be nice to have a dibble. The right tools always make the job go a little easier. So I've got my holes set. I'm just going to gently pull my lettuce out of the container here, trying to be gentle, not to break the root ball too much here. Try to pack in a little bit of media around those roots, not too tight. And we're just going to do this for all 8 of these. Sometimes I like to do things kind of in a assembly line sort of process, where instead of doing one at a time, I'll make the holes for all 8 and then drop the plants in, and then come back and set the roots So, the important thing is that the plants get safely transferred into the box. You get the soil around the plant, make the plant happy. These plants are going to love it here in the EarthBox. We'll get another pack of lettuce here. The last one. So now that we have our plant set, we're going to have a one-time application of water from the top, just a little bit into each hole, just to set those roots, give them a little drink of water, take all the air pockets out of the soil. We're pretty adamant about filling the reservoir through the tube, but when the plants are newly planted, this gives them a little drink, and it also helps to make sure the soil is set. So the final step is to actually fill our reservoir. We're going to do that, as I just mentioned, through the water fill tube. I can hear the water running out. I know that the reservoir is full. So now your box is all set for the spring. Just make sure that you keep the reservoir filled with water. You want to check it every day or two. I'm Frank. This has been How to Replant Your EarthBox. Thanks, and have a happy harvest.